Very warm welcome to the India Market Review for the week ending Friday, 14th October 2016. Just yesterday we had a 100-point plus fall on the Nifty, gap down open. Today a slight attempt at a bounce, but nothing significant. And if you've been following the IMRs for the last few, 3 to 4 weeks, and you've had any short positions, you should have by now made quite a bit of money on your trades. Few key things that have happened, I guess, in the last 1 or 2 days. So one is the earnings season has started off, and Infy has, as we probably all are aware, declared results which are not really very happy, and there has been some subdued guidance, and there's been a cut in guidance basically. That's the important thing. There's been a cut in guidance to 8 to 9% revenue guidance, right? And well, I guess in some ways one might say no surprise. Of course, it's in retrospect the statement. We've seen a lot of weakness in the IT space, and been really bearish on the IT space for quite many weeks now. On the other hand, the Nifty is also fallen, and there's really nothing much to look forward to. Looks like on the long side at this point. We also have the interest rate cut that happened, quarter 25 basis points last week. And it's not like the market has rallied to that, or that cut has caused any rally. Indeed, the other way around. And one of the things that we've been mentioning about the market has been the lack of earnings growth, and looks like earnings growth is still something that is going to lag. Nothing great is really expected right now. On the other hand, on the global side, we have seen, as we speak, actually, all of Europe is very nicely up 1% on the FTSE. The FTSE has made new life highs. We've been calling for that for about 2 weeks right now. And very interesting tidbit of information that the FTSE has risen 20% from its pre-Brexit levels, and the pound has fallen 20% from the pre-Brexit levels. So in terms of a foreign investor, that is, who's investing into the UK markets from the outside, and your currency in which you are investing is not in pounds, it's some other currency, you are basically back to square one. Even though the FTSE has gone up 20%, you haven't really made money, because that 20% gain has been lost in the 20% devaluation of the pound. Right? So these are things that global investors need to be aware of in terms of risks. So while we have a pretty bleak earnings season, looks like for India, in US on the other hand, JP Morgan just started off one of the biggest surprises in a sense, top earnings and revenue estimates, and it's one of the biggest banks. So it's gotten off to a good start. So unlike in India, where we have gotten off to looks like a very poor start, in the US it looks like we've gotten off to a good start as far as earnings are concerned. And as we speak, Europe is in the green, of course, almost 2% on the CAC. DAC is 1.5%. And as far as US is concerned, after opening, that's also up almost 1% on the Dow Jones. So that's a pretty positive response that you are seeing in the US. The broader market, S&P 500, also 0.7%. And if we look at New York Stock Exchange, quite nicely up between 0.5 and 1% almost. My voice is echoing. Okay. So while Europe and US are obviously doing very well actually. Uh, just to recap, our view has been sort of sideways to bearish for both these um, major global areas. And what we basically want to ask today and review is after yesterday's, not today's, yesterday's 140 or 130 point Nifty fall, are we seeing the downtrend accelerating? Are we going to go lower? And given what we're seeing in Europe and US, is there maybe a bottom in sight, or and has Europe and US started to sort of rise again? Um, uh, because obviously these two are sort of in a sense conflicting views. Downtrend in India versus query uptrend in US and Europe. If that's the case, then we have a divergence and it won't obviously last very long, and we want to basically resolve that. Right? So, as usual, we'll jump into our global indices and have a look. So, starting with the S&P 500. So, S&P 500, as you can see very clearly, this is a daily chart, and we have spoken about the symmetrical triangle last session. It has clearly broken down, and even after this breakdown, if you take even the 1% up move today, almost 1%, then well, essentially you could still call it, it could just be a bounce. It would not definitely be an uptrend. So what we clearly have is, first of all, a breakdown of a symmetrical triangle. Today probably is just a bounce in that, and the longer term picture over the 2-3 months has really not changed at all. So really nothing on the chart on the S&P to say that we have to review our sideways to bearish view on the US markets. Same thing on the Dow Jones. As a matter of fact, both of these indices have basically come back to their old life highs, tested that, perhaps are bouncing from there, but will they reverse the potential downtrend? At this point, it would be way too early to say. Crossing over to Europe, we look at DAX. Well, the DAX has clearly, it's the 10,000 mark. It's 10,400, 10,500 mark becoming a sort of pivot point around which it keeps going up and down. And really, again, at best, today's up move would be considered to be a sideways move. So today's candles are not there, by the way. So this is end of day data. So this is the yesterday, this European charts and the American charts that we're seeing end of day. And if there is a bounce, really doesn't change the sideways trend at all. CAC should be the same. Yeah, very much the same, almost a carbon copy, except the scale is different. And perhaps the only meaningful difference is in the FTSE, with it making a new life high, as you can see last week, and then today's up move. So where is the FTSE right now? So FTSE is at 7046, right? Probably at the highest level of the day if you look at the side chart here. So 7046, 7050 for all practical purposes, just shy of the life high there. So where my cursor is where 7050 is. So basically just a bounce, and all said and done, just making new life highs, but for fundamentally very, very different reasons. And this sort of a life high, though sentimentally exciting, is really not anything to write home about. Oh, well, as a matter of fact, so it made life highs on a sort of closing basis. But if you look at from 2015 to now, we're looking at basically a big white double top. So for the pound devaluation reasons, so a lot of the companies which are listed on the FTSE London-based companies are basically export-oriented. So they're going to report their profits for the same dollar or rupee or ruble or euro sales, but in conversion, they're going to make a hell of a lot of gain. Imagine our IT companies in India. If the rupee fell by 20% and 67 rupees to a dollar became, let's say, 75, 80 rupees to a dollar, their earnings would just amazingly shoot up without having to really do a single minute extra work to make that extra profit just because of pure devaluation. So it's a mixed bag. So FTSE, for all its in a sense achievement, at a double top region, that's for sure. None of the other European indices have come close to their previous life highs. FTSE has, but does it break 7100 and does it rally from there, or does it turn back down? That would really be the moot question, which right now too early to answer. Two views on that. FTSE could just establish a double top here, and as the problems in the UK economy become more and more pronounced, then we could see a correction happening over a longer time frame. Technically also, double top, significant resistance. If it breaks, then there could be a sentimental, technical driven rally to maybe 7500, but whether that will sustain or not, it's just too early to say. So if you look at Europe now, with all the moves, including today's positive opening or closing almost, things are looking rosy in the very short term, but in the multi-week projection, then I would at best be saying that they're going sideways, nothing more than that. Just to look at Nikkei, and if you look at that, well, apart from the data bug that is there, this is really, again gone nowhere. So Nikkei very clearly consolidating, going sideways. So no global cues at all is what we can say on the bullish side, and basically reaffirms the view we had last week, and which brings us down to a simple decision, which is we should short every rise in the market, including I think the European markets, perhaps the American markets. If you're trading those, they should clearly be shorted. And India, if you look at from the global perspective and the local perspective, I think the evidence has built up a little bit more today in this time's IMR that a further downtrend is more likely than any uptrend. So to look at the Nifty and see how that is doing. So if you look at NSE, this was the multi-hundred, not 100-point plus fall on Thursday. You can see how it broke down through this neckline that we had put quite some time back. Let me just make it a beautiful color and highlight it. I hope there are not too many lines which are confusing. Okay. Today, slightly green, right, but still a red candle in terms of the intraday rally did not really was not strong enough to make it go up any substantial way. You can see that in the size of the candle, and the next lower support is at 8500, and very much within the channel. As you can see, this downtrend channel, and typically what happens is these downtrend channels will at some point start to accelerate down even faster, right? So you're going to see some sort of a down move, perhaps a sharper down move that will develop as we go on. Only consolation, low volumes today, and that is, but it's like clinging on to a straw when you're drowning. I think right now, overwhelmingly, I think if you look at all the last 1 week's volume candles, volume sticks, I would say overall there is definitely selling pressure. It hasn't abated that significantly, And there's nothing on the indicators either to suggest that we have any strength in the market. This is a weekly chart. Weekly chart, remember we had 2 trading holidays this week, so this volume is going to be artificially low. Can't really pay too much attention to this. But the size of the price candle clearly strong. The green ones are clearly weak. Right? The bullish ones are clearly weak, and the bearish ones are clearly strong. So in terms of, I think, levels to look forward to, 8250, so of course 8400 is going to be a zone that is a pretty good support, and around 80, 83 even, I think we're talking about just another, what, 300 points down, about 4-5%. It could easily, I think, happen in the coming week. I mean, basically, if you take this sort of 100, 130, 150 point falls that just happen, and then for 2-3 days you get on rally, then again they'll start falling. That's just what you have to wait for. You don't know when, and given that it's earnings season, there'll all be all sorts of triggers and hopes and expectations. But yeah, basically that's what there is. So having broken the almost 2.5-3 month neckline, and I'm referring to this yellow line from late July. In a sense, a head and shoulder, a sort of complex type. And if I have to look at the measuring implications, then they basically take it from say 9,000 to 8,600. So that's about 400 points, and from about say 87 or 8650, 8250, 8250. So that's where on the daily basis chart, the 200-day exponential moving averages plus plenty of support zones. So 8250, 8300, quite possible. We still got about exactly 2 weeks left to expiry, and I can't think of anything else except events in terms of results that will trigger big changes. But otherwise, looks like we are on track for further down moves. If there is anything, the only thing I can think of right now, based on whatever, and I've reduced my newspaper reading significantly for various reasons, but therefore it's very possible. The reason I'm mentioning that is it's very possible I've missed some news or information or event that perhaps should be discussed, and if there is anything that you think is important, is relevant, not even important, just relevant to market price action, then please do mention it, and we'll have a discussion on that. So as I was saying, based on whatever very little I know now, because I'm not really into following news and events that much, I think the only big thing I can think of is still the India-Pakistan thing, which has to some large degree cooled off and perhaps become a non-event for now. But you never know when it will suddenly blow up. These are things that are happening quietly in the background, and all that stuff, and we'll get to know about it later. So don't forget about how the market reacted on this day, which was the 29th of September. This was when the surgical strike was announced, and there was that concern about a potential sort of war-like situation happening. Given that that has receded, I think the only other thing that to say we worry about is Trump, and if any more allegations or news or who knows what comes out, and the growing pressure for him to stand down. Nothing significant right now. He's like very strongly holding his ground. But if something blows up, something really blows up, and I don't know if you watched Michelle Obama's speech, which is on the news channels in US, very impassioned speech and a very heartfelt look like. So there could be things that happen to force him, or I don't know, make his chances of his winnability far less, and I think that could be a source of relief for the overall markets. And like we mentioned last week, I think as far as the global markets are concerned, it's wait and watch till what, 26 days, 25 days now to US elections. So that's to be kept in mind, right? So overall, the bearish view continues. Given that we are at a support level in the downtrend channel, we could get an up move going up to maybe even 8670, even 8700. But I wouldn't really, in a sense, if that came, I would use that to short. And any bullish move is probably only over 8800 is to be considered. Till then, all bets are off. It's all for the bears. So that's the Nifty view. And to look at our sector indices, well, let's look at our Nifty Junior. Mid cap has been showing some strength. This is the next 50 now, as it is called. And well, it's done a rounded top, small one. And I think it's a matter of time that it comes down to about 22,500. So yes, this is also starting to show weakness. It's not fallen definitely as much as Nifty has. And you can see that on a weekly basis, the MACD, if you look at it, I haven't marked it, MACD here, the RSI also. All of these, the MACD hasn't really done a negative crossover, but the RSI is definitely showing a bearish divergence as far as the RSI is concerned. Next, there you go. Right. So definitely the divergence has not corrected and it is still very much in place. So at the very least, I would think that next 50 is coming to 20,800. We are at 23,300 right now. So that's almost a fall for a 10% correction on the next 50. And I am quite sure that that's going to happen. May not happen this month also, but give it some time and I think you might see that. Right? Okay. Now, interesting story in Business Standard this week. Just I was glancing through the headlines before about India being one of the most expensive markets, emerging markets wise, and that's why some people will be proud of it and say, "Oh, India, India, India," and we have a growth place, but then it has its risks, as in expensive, and one day the world will decide that we're not worth it to pay the growth premium that India is receiving right now, and that is another cause of another risk, which is I think growing. And once that that sentiment starts to build in the FIIs, then you could start seeing some sort of a minor, if not, I don't expect a major, but a minor sell-off could start happening, a sort of unloading of their positions and distribution, and then they'll re-enter, of course, at more appropriate levels. All right. The mid-cap space, the mid-cap index, very much the same, range bound, hasn't broken down from its range as you can see, but I just think it's a matter of time, and that's also probably going to go down. Coming to the sector ones right now, so all these are the broad miscellaneous mixed sectors. Sector specific ones, so we've got BSE Auto Index, and that has, well, in a sense, a double top, I would say, market here, right? That's one, and in a sense, this whole zone here is in a sense a double top. The second being a sort of a rounding top, and because of Diwali, because of the impressive car sales, passenger vehicle sales, the Maruti's extremely expensive valuations, etc. But the sentiment is all bullish, and things are expected to really be good for the auto manufacturers. Though whether it's sustainable and whether the expensive valuations are justified. I think there is plenty of debate there, and one is better off cautious. So with that expensive valuation, you want to relook at it, and technically you're looking at the charts not showing any more bullishness or uptrend like behavior at all as they have been since February, March of this year. Bank Nifty. So RBI policy has come and gone, and the Bank Nifty one continues to fall. So there was some other, I don't know whether it was today's headline about potentially two large private sector banks which may have to, public sector banks, sorry, which may have to merge. No names were mentioned, but if that's the case, well, they're not merging. They're not being merged for, what do I say, positive reasons. They're being merged because at least one of them is in a pretty weak financial situation. And there was also some headline about public sector banks perhaps not in a financially healthy position to pay interest on the Tier 2 bonds or Tier 1 bonds that they have, which is required as the capital adequacy positions. And that's not good. That's not good. Right? So there is deterioration happening on the bank balance sheets, at least on the public sector side, looks like. So this downtrend in Bank Nifty, very much a copy of, in a sense, downtrend in the Nifty. So one feeding the other. I was just looking to see if one is leading the other, the Nifty versus the Bank Nifty, but really nothing is there. All right. So that's the Bank Nifty. We look at the PSU Bank Index, and that's also finally broken down. So we were talking about, the PSU banks perhaps technically being in a good position to be bought, and even fundamentally, their valuations wise, they were, better than private sector. But just reviewing this band here, the big wide thin rectangle resistance zone, which we have talked about last week, and this week, well, I think decisively it has made the call of wanting to go down. The downtrend was already there. It sort of tried to bounce. It couldn't make a new life high, and that's where we are right now. With the break of the 50-day exponential moving average, etc., I definitely expect the PSU banks to come to 2850. So we are at 3100, 2850. That's a 10% correction, by the way. It's not a small amount. On the PSU banks is to be, I think, is in the works and to be expected. So autos now sort of a double top, PSU banks in a downtrend, Bank Nifty in a downtrend. Just a second. Moving on to consumer durables, it's not a sector we look at often. Make sure this data is right. 14th, 13th. So very unusual to get this sort of move in the index, but well, sometimes you do. That's the consumer durables for you, not very much part of the main indices, but this is a big, strong hanging man sort of pattern which is there, and it's being seen in an entire sector. And if you look at this weekly chart, that sort of doji, almost like a dragonfly doji, not a healthy sign. Nothing much more on that. Capital goods, weekly chart, negative crossover or bearish crossover on the Nifty, on the MACD, no strength in the indices. The index, the capital good index basically stuck around the long-term moving averages. It has been like that for last several weeks. today is just a technical bounce, I would say. Nothing to be taken, to be paid attention to, but not to be acted upon. It's still a downtrend, and till it breaks about 15,500 on the capital goods index, there is really not much more to look forward to. FMCG, so that continues to deteriorate. So the this was flicking through the channels before the IMR, and apparently there's a drought-like situation in Sri Lanka, and they have the water usage restrictions have been put in place across. I don't know if it's the whole country, but most of the country looks like, from what I heard in BBC. So what happened to the monsoon, and where is this water gone? And of course, the same situation in at least in our state in Karnataka. So it looks like it's like almost like no monsoon in a sense. So the FMCG economy, the rural economy, the Bharat as we call it, could have challenges in the coming few months. Not in a few weeks, but definitely in the coming few months. So maybe we should be prepared to see far more expensive food, and should allocate more to our food budget. I'm just talking about going through the bazaar and buying vegetables and fruits. I'm not talking about fine dining at all. So expect that to go up. And from the FMCG chart, doesn't look like there's any support till 82.30, 82.50. So that's another 5%, 4 to 5% down on the FMCG side, and that downtrend definitely got accelerated on Thursday. Healthcare, well, this is another one which is now, you can see clearly lower tops happening. Lower bottoms haven't happened. Lower bottoms have happened almost in every other index we have seen so far, but we have not seen that in the BSE Healthcare. Sitting just at that 200-day moving average, but quite expected to break. If I look at CNX Pharma, well, that's almost broken, as you can see. So small differences between, say, BSE Healthcare and CNX Pharma. And the Pharma CNX looking more bearish to me than the BSE, and I think it's a matter of time before it breaks down from this support level at around 11,300, and maybe you could see that 10,800, 10,600. So that's almost 700-800 point drop. That's another 5-6% on the pharma side that we're talking about. You look at the metals. So metals attempting a rally early part of the week, but then really not following through with it. Right. So metal was looking strong, and of all the indices so far, it is definitely the strongest. Still potentially an uptrend. It's not even the start of a downtrend right now. But given where the rest of the market is heading, there's no reason to believe that this will go up. Power. So that's also looking very much, what would I say? I was going to use the word distress, not distress, actually, not the correct technical description. But you can now clearly see the downtrend. You can see the downtrend flag. You can see that it had met the measuring implication. You can see a bounce. You can see that it's going back to the 200-day moving average. And I expect this will break 1960. And once that breaks, then we will see perhaps even 1800. So that's about 200. That's about 10% correction. Maybe even 1700, 1600 cannot be ruled out. Then coming to CNX IT. So today's drama probably because of Infi and all those guys, but that support level looking very, very precarious to me right now. A lot of volatility and doubt in the market. These sort of very big shadows. That's what they all signify. And and you well below the long-term moving averages. The long-term moving average is also now trending and facing down quite meaningfully. So 9,000, 10,200, 9,000 could take who knows, a month to get there, but that's where it is. Definitely no buying. There's no buying at all. Checking to see, or reality, missed reality. How we missed that, right? So reality index, that's, well, now I think breaking down with the rest of the market, still has some hope, but you've got good 3 black soldiers, or you may want to call it 3 red soldiers, and today's bounce looks like a harami, but very weak. Would like to see a lot more evidence. And getting into reality is, I think, only above 1640 on the index. Till then, just short it at every opportunity you get. So, well, folks, not a single bullish picture in all the indices that we have seen. And that, I mean, if you remember last week, we had some hope. Let me bring up stuff quickly. IMR, right? So short, we said the only thing we said was do not short PSU banks, and we said query longs on metals, reality, energy, and well, that's it. Everything else was bearish basically. Else, no, nothing else on the. Okay. So let's sort of review this. Ultratech, Tata Motors, these were the only 2 that we had found as long last time. We just finished that, and we had mentioned these as shorts last time. M&M, Maruti, Wipro, and Fitechem. So we're going to review that in part 2 of the webinar. So really nothing in this one at all. On the bullish side, as a matter of fact, it's all bearish. So shorting is the way to go, and any opportunities where you see a bounce should probably be used for exiting longs and entering shorts. And doesn't look like to me that nowhere close to this downtrend sort of settling down or getting over. I think on a week by week basis, the situation will just evolve. But more and more, what's I'm appreciating is the sense of time, the sense that even in a bearish market, which we have been, well, not in a bearish market, we've been bearish for a month now. It's taken a month, basically, more than that, to actually see the market go down from about almost 9,000 to 8,500. That's 500 points. Doesn't look like much for 5 weeks, but that's approximately 100 points per week in a sense, 125 points a week. And there's this one day in a week where it's the big day. Makes life tough for, I think, intraday traders, but much nicer, in my opinion, for positional traders. You just wait it out, play by your convictions, have the courage of your views, and execute appropriately, basically, right? All right, so great. So shorting is the way to go, and that brings us to the end of part 1 of this session. So is the downtrend accelerating? In my opinion, the answer is yes. There are no bullish triggers at all, and if anything, the market is going to, in the way it behaves, is going to discount positive news and latch on to all negative news. So positive news will be sort of ignored, but will latch on to negative news. That's just the mood and the sentiment. That's the phase the market is in right now. Right? So remember that also plays on your biases and your emotions, depending on what sort of views and positions you already have. So that's something very useful to observe of how you are impacted and how your views change because of news and short-term events that come out. But get the bigger picture, and I'm not getting into the fundamentals of this. You all know what the fundamental situation is. So I think all said and done, put everything together, there is not a single piece of news, evidence, data that I know of that makes me want to look at the long positions. Everything is towards the short side. Okay. Right. So thank you for being on part 1. And I'm closing this webinar, and I'm going to send you a link right now in 15 seconds for part 2. And I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.